Hey everybody, welcome to day 3 of Breakfast with Bob from beautiful Edmonton, Canada. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by Master Spas, SFuels, go longer, Quintana, HOKA, One, Forum Smart Swim Goggles, Zoot Sports, the original triathlon brand, Premium Plus Sports, and our Challenged Athletes Foundation. She is coming off a huge win at 70.3 Oregon. Danielle Lewis joins us. How you doing, Danielle?
Hey, Bob, doing good. Thanks for having me.
You know, we were chatting before we started the interview that one of the field is amazing here. Right?
It is.
It's like Hall of Fame people.
Yep.
And you're training in the pool next to Olympic gold medalists. There's Ironman champions.
Exactly.
That's got to be so fun.
Well, normally when you go to races, you might see some of your competitors the days before.
Right.
Most likely not. You really see them at the pro briefing and then maybe at the expo and then the start line.
Right.
But this week we've all got here almost a week in advance of the race and are training alongside these people in the pool because, you know, selected pool slots and everything. Yeah. So that's just been a new kind of cool experience because you get to see people's personalities too kind of come through.
Exactly. And what's cool about this in is the fact that in ITU racing, I think it's probably hard to be closer to each other because there's a lot of tactics and little psych outs and things like that. This racing, the best person normally is going to win the thing. So it's not like you have to, you can't be friends with people.
No, I mean, we're all in this together. You know, I think at the end of the day, we all want the best for each other, but we're all competitors, so we all each want to win.
Of course.
You know, it's like you're friends until like the gun goes off kind of thing, I guess.
So coming off of your win, 70.3 Oregon, 18-minute swim, 2:17 bike, 1:18 run, and a sub 4 hours, which is really sweet.
Yeah.
Have you been seeing progression? And that's got to be a good moment for you.
Oh, I have been seeing a lot of progression. You know, I've had a good bike-run combo the past few years, but the swim deficit has really kind of been a bit of an anchor. It just as I'm getting more and more into the sport, but my swim has continued to improve. We did have, you can't just say it's an 18-minute, 1.2 mile swim because
it's a current.
It was
it's a current.
a huge current, which
Right.
was so much fun.
Right.
But I did come out of the water with a
the
big
other fast swimmers,
pack, and I came out of T2 in second place, which I've never done that, out of T1. I came out of T1 in second, and then quickly was in first, and I'm like, okay, I'm at the front of the race. What do I do now?
Was that really one of the first times that's happened?
The first time.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, and you can either shrink from that or you embrace it.
Well, I just pretended like I had some people up the road that I couldn't see.
Okay.
Because that's how chase those people. Yeah, I'm usually always chasing people, so I was like, okay, just pretend like there's some people up the road.
Well, and then you got to get off the bike and run a half marathon.
Well, true.
Yeah, and with people coming from behind who are obviously have a good running pedigree.
Exactly. And the Oregon course was unlike any 70.3 course that I've done because it was in this nature preserve. And so it was winding through these trees. There's trees on either side of you, trees above, and it doesn't really double back on itself. So you
don't know.
You have no clue.
You're running blind.
Completely. And I have the likes of Marina Carfrey behind me, and so I'm like, okay, I just have to keep the gas on.
And coming down, when did you feel like, okay, I've got this?
It's funny, actually, the whole run, I told myself, I can win this. Just keep things steady. Don't do anything crazy, but just be very consistent each mile.
Right.
And even through about 12 miles, is when you could see the finish line up ahead, and it's like, okay, there it is. Like, you can win this, but wait a second, maybe she's sprinting. So I start looking around. Yeah, I'm like, okay, maybe she's sprinting, and I don't know. It's just like you have these mind games. So I think it wasn't until I hit the carpet and crossed the finish line.
So this year you also did your first Ironman?
I did.
What'd you think? That was Texas.
My goals going into it, obviously I had some ideas of where I could finish if I executed things well. But I also just wanted to, number one, finish the race, and then 2, finish feeling like I want to do that again.
Right.
Just because it's, just starting the full journey.
Right. Yeah.
So the race didn't go as well because I learned that I need to take in much more sodium than I had been taking in.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so based on the amount of sodium that I lose in my sweat, it's about 1,300 milligrams per liter of fluid loss.
Right.
And so we calculated that I needed roughly about 12 grams of sodium on the day, and I took in maybe 3 grams.
Ooh, not good.
Not good. So I started cramping pretty severely about mile 60 on the bike.
Oh.
And it just made the whole day very long.
Well, yeah, you still got to go run a marathon. That's not fun.
Well, or hobble, walk, crawl, whatever it took to get to the finish.
But you learn from that. And actually, the other last year, 2021, Indian Wells, you got to win there.
Yes, I did.
That's pretty cool because that's always a good field.
Yes.
And it's December-ish, right? It's right around December. So it's end of the season, leaves you on a high note. That,
Yes.
okay, I just won this. And I think it's a tough run because there's a lot of golf course and
It's
sort
a really
hard
kind
to
of
get into rhythm.
It's a punchy run. I mean, it's lots of twists and turns and little
Right.
ups and downs. And so, yeah, it's definitely hard to find a rhythm on that course.
Speaking of that, this course, right? You've got multiple loops in the swim, then multiple loops on the bike, and then the run, and then the 3 climbs on each loop of the bike. Does this suit you?
Very much it does.
Yeah.
We just did the swim course preview this morning.
Yep.
And so each loop is, I think, well, it's 2K
Right.
total, so
Yeah.
666 meters, I
Yeah.
think, per, well,
Yeah.
figure that, right? Per
lap.
Per lap.
Yeah.
But, the good thing is that when you get out of the water, you can see where you
it
are
is,
in
yeah.
relation to the field. So I find that helpful.
Yep.
Also, I mean, there's running involved with the swim, which I'll take that.
Anytime you can run, yeah.
And then the bike definitely suits me. I come from a cycling background, racing crits and
Oh, yeah.
stage races and stuff. So
Choppy roads,
Yeah.
technical, up, down. Yeah.
exactly. So I'm actually really looking forward to the bike. I think it'll be a lot of fun. There's 3 major, I say major, 3
But
climbs
on each day,
that
yeah.
you can put in some work there on the field on those climbs. And then there's some technical corners and the road surface, and so picking your lines and everything. So
be important.
if you do all of that right, I mean, you pick up a second here, a second there.
Makes a big
Seconds
difference.
add up in this field specifically because everybody's will be at the top of their game.
Well, and with a 20-meter draft rule, if you can get away a little bit, it's hard for people to get back.
True. I think the smart athletes will take some risks on some of the technical sections.
Yes. Well, when you've got, like we said, $1 million at stake, and you've got it going, up through 20th place is 5K. That's
Oh, yeah.
a lot of times that's like winning a race. So, and then 21 through 40 is $2,000 no matter what.
Sure.
So I think people take chances. They're going to
Oh.
go, hey, why don't I want to get in the top 3,
Well,
top
exactly.
5, and go get 100K or 50K or 40K,
I mean,
and
yeah.
firm up Collins Cup, and there's a lot that's going to be happening tomorrow.
It's interesting with this field. Any one of these athletes could be considered a contender,
Right.
depending on how the race dynamics play out.
Yep.
And I almost wish I could just watch the race.
Well, I will. That's what I'm going to be
Yeah.
doing. I'm going to be getting the chance to watch this thing because it's going to be unbelievable. And
Yeah.
then there's so many of these women who you've never raced before.
Right.
And some of these, Nicola Spirig, this is she's just her swan song. She's finishing up this season. So, you'll be able to say, hey, I raced Olympic gold medalist
Oh,
and
yeah.
silver medalist.
Yep.
One of the legends of our sport. That's pretty fun.
Oh yeah, I mean, you could talk about each athlete here.
Every one
and
of them.
Yeah, exactly, and they've all done impressive things.
Yes.
So it's going to be a lot of fun out there, quite honestly.
Distance-wise, a little less than a 70.3, obviously more than what the ITU guys normally do. Is that good for you?
Not as much
You would
because
rather
the
be
swim.
a 70.3?
Well, the swim is essentially the same distance.
Yeah.
But the bike and the run are shorter. And so I have less time to play catch up. But my swim has improved. I feel confident that I can stay with a swim pack.
Right.
And if I can stay with a swim pack, I mean, I feel like I can do pretty well.
What got you into this? You grew up in South Florida, you ran at Baylor, qualified to compete steeplechase. Anybody who's a steeplechaser is a badass. Period. End of
Thanks.
story, right? Because that is, I remember interviewing this guy, Tom Hunt, who was a steeplechaser and set the American record for 10,000 meters on the road. And he said the difference between regular running and steeple is when you're running in a race and you sort of fade a little bit. In steeple, 1 second you feel great, next second there's a piano on your back and you're done. Is that
It's
legit?
It's a tough race. I mean, it's funny when you think about a runner. A lot of runners aren't super coordinated.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
they maybe were athletes that didn't quite have the skills for like basketball or other team sports that required some of that hand-eye coordination.
Yep.
In the steeplechase, you kind of have to be just like a pure athlete.
Totally.
To be really exceptional at the steeplechase. Because, I mean, you're running at a fast pace.
You're running full out.
Period. And then you have
Hurdles.
to, jump over the water jumps and hurdles and whatnot. So.
And they're not these little baby hurdles. These are things, you hit that thing with your knee. It's not like the thing's going down.
Oh, no.
You're going down.
Yep, you will go down. I have face planted the water.
Have you really?
Yeah.
We used to always hang out there because that's
Yep.
where the carnage was,
Well.
right? You liked it when someone went in there and then everybody jumped on them with their spikes. They had little,
Well, if you watch some of the Olympic, I think like the Africans, when they go over, they don't even touch the thing.
Nothing.
They just
They
steeple
jump
the
the whole
entire
pit.
water.
Yeah, they mainly just get a little splash at the end of it. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. So you went to the Olympic trials in steeple, and then
Well, I had qualified, but I had fractured my heel, unfortunately.
you didn't get the race?
I fractured the heel just beforehand. So
and on an obstacle.
it was. I had we were doing some barriers practice
Yeah.
in training, and I came over one of the barriers pretty hard, and I bruised it at that point. And then I had a race about a week later, and that's when I had fractured it in the race.
Oh, so you couldn't go to the trials. Oh.
I went to watch, but
You couldn't
I
participate.
couldn't.
I can't even imagine that watching them had to be brutal.
Yeah, it's sport, I guess.
Yeah, well,
It can be
okay.
heartbreaking at times.
Mono, vitamin D deficiency, year off to recover, gained 50 pounds, and that led to cycling.
It did, yep. So I wanted to run professionally, but then I did get sick my senior year, took some time off, and ended up gaining about 50 pounds in that year. And I think part of the reason is that my body fat percentage got really, really low.
Yep.
And so it was kind of like this rubber band effect, right, where I stopped the training, and so the body just kind of was like, okay, I'm going to retain everything I can.
Right.
But then I also was pretty depressed with how things ended with running.
Sure, yeah.
And so I think I sat on the couch and ate probably too much cereal. I mean, I'd admit it. But then, and one day I just kind of light bulb went off, and I was like, I can do whatever I want to do if I just set my mind to do it. I know it sounds cliche, but it was just something inside of me.
Switch. Absolutely.
I felt that switch. And so I just went to work to lose the weight, get back in shape, got a bike, started riding my bike. I thought at that point that I would do triathlon, but then in the process of training, I had a bike accident, fractured my shoulder. Yep, had to have surgery, so I couldn't swim. But then I started racing the bike, and then within 3 years was racing on a domestic elite team.
Yes. But then you fractured your back in an accident?
Yeah,
too?
bike accident again. I went over the handlebars going downhill at over 40 miles an hour, and
Wow.
that was fun.
So, but then 2017, you win all 3 USA Tri, do national, USA Tri, do national titles.
Correct.
So, long distance, sprint distance, Olympic distance.
Yes.
Wow.
That was all the duathlon. And so at the same time, I'm still learning how to swim. That was the first year that I was like, okay, I have to learn how to swim to do triathlon.
Yeah. And then your first age grouper at your 78.3 debut in Cozumel.
That, yes, and then third at the Olympic Nationals, USAT Olympic.
It's so interesting how stuff happens because, if you don't hurt your foot in steeple, who knows if you move on to this other thing and have a career that can go a long way.
It's true.
I mean, you're just getting started, right? You just did your first Ironman.
Well, absolutely. I'm still young, relatively young for the sport.
Right.
So I know I still have a few years ahead of me, and I've learned a lot in these past few years. I'm excited about the future.
Yeah. And the other race you did, which is I think one of my favorites to chat with people about, is Alcatraz.
Oh yeah.
How fun was that?
Oh,
was
that was
your first time?
It was. I never actually thought that I would get the chance to race at Alcatraz. I just never really seemed to align with the schedule.
Yeah.
And then I think they are maybe a little bit selective on who goes.
Right.
But I got an invitation. And so I was like, well, yeah, let's just go do it.
Exactly.
Yep.
And what's cool about that is every part of that race is iconic, right? The swim, you're jumping off a boat. This year, the foggy, and then there's no buoy. People don't understand. There's no buoys out there.
No.
You're basically okay, go that way and find the
You have
current.
this building at this point, that building at this point. Look for the dome, look for the aquatic park. And I don't know. I'm just going to swim and follow the person in front of
Shop
me.
here. I can't see crap anyways.
Yeah,
But then the bike is, it's a tough little bike ride.
it is.
And then you get the sand ladder
Oh,
and
yeah.
the beach and all that cool stuff. And you get second place first time out.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, actually, I think that race prepared me pretty well for this race because of the technical bike.
Yes.
Yeah, just lots of hills, and it was raining that day too, so it was even more technical than normal.
That's very
So,
cool. Good for you. You're doing all these fun races. That's really. What did you have a goal for this race?
For this race specifically, quite honestly, I don't have a place goal.
Right.
That's going to have to shake out, and I
Yeah.
think it's honestly, that's probably the same for most of the athletes in this field.
Yes.
So for me, it's going to be staying with the swim pack is
Yes.
number one, because if I can stay with the swim pack, I mean, all bets
know
are
you
off.
can ride with
I
them.
can ride and I can run with the best of them. I know
Yes.
that. But it's just the swim. I've done a lot of work. I started working with Eni Jones. Yep.
Phenomenal.
Yep. Great open water swimmer, and how she conceptualizes swimming really resonates with me. So even just some of the small things that she's told me has made a big difference. So really just making that swim pack, and then the bike, just, be smart,
thing.
ride hard,
Yeah.
do my thing, have fun.
Well,
If I'm having
yeah.
fun out there, I'm going to ride well too.
Right, and you've got cycling background. Right?
Yeah.
You basically have focused on each of those individual parts, and you were bike racing. So
Right.
this is a bike racer's course.
And then the run is also unique because it's just 4 loops of out and back, out and back,
Right.
out and back.
Pretty flat, though, right?
It is, but that means that you will see your competition the entire time.
Right, and so as you're seeing them, and you're in, fifth place. You're like, if I get to third, that's $15,000 more. So
Yeah.
you put little dollar signs on each of these people.
And then like, okay, do I really want to run that much harder for a few $1,000s? Do I really want to run that much harder? Okay,
Yes,
yeah,
I
probably
do.
worth it.
15 grand, 2 places. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I'll go for that. That's what I like about that. Is like it's like you're playing a little Pac-Man and you're
Sure.
running along, going, oh, I got 2 places. That's $5,000. That's
Yeah,
nice.
it's true.
I love it. Have a lot of fun out there, Danielle.
Oh, thank you so
It's
much.
gonna be a good time, and
Yep.
hopefully we'll see you up in Boise.
Yeah, that'd be great. And so you will be on the course?
I will be on course.
And so
tomorrow.
you'll be
Yeah.
cheering
I'll be
and-
cheering.
Okay,
all
good.
over the course. Danielle Lewis has been our guest. Everybody, again, Breakfast with Bob from beautiful Edmonton, Canada. Hold on, we will be right